Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is expected to step down from his position today. The coalition government led by Sharif is set to dissolve after he steps down. The early dissolution will give the ruling coalition extra time for holding general elections that is scheduled later this year. The government has announced that assemblies will be dissolved 3 days ahead of its mandated period, that is 12th of August, after which elections are to be held within 90 days. The country will get an interim government after the dissolution. Prime Minister Sharif will inform President Arif Alvi about the dissolution in case of a delay. At least 20 people have been killed in the recent clashes between the Sudanese army and rapid support forces in the country's greater capital area. Multiple areas across Sudan have been plagued by violence between the warring sides since mid-April. The fighting has intensified on Tuesday after the clash. The RSF has besieged the Sudanese army's engineering headquarters for several days now. The paramilitary force launched attacks with heavy artillery, tanks and other weapons. The RSF claims at least 100 Sudanese soldiers were killed and 300 others were injured. As per the Sudanese Health Ministry, the public is called on to donate blood for the wounded as the only operational hospital in the city is out of blood stocks. NASA has unveiled its Orion spacecraft for the Artemis II space mission at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The mission will take a crew of 4 astronauts to the moon and is scheduled to launch in November of 2024. Artemis is the name of the Greek goddess of the moon. The United States has used this name for its mission to go back to the moon after a long gap. No human has set foot on the moon since 1972, and the Artemis mission intends to change that. No lunar landing is scheduled for this mission. Japan held a ceremony to mark the 78th anniversary of the Nagasaki atomic bombing on Wednesday. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida addressed the gathering via a video message. Prime Minister Kishida said that Japan continues to make tireless efforts to realize a world free of nuclear weapons. He also reaffirmed the nation's commitment to the 3 non-nuclear principles. The ceremony was relocated indoors instead of the Nagasaki Peace Park due to concerns related to Typhoon Khanun. At least 3 people died and several others were wounded in Donetsk after Russian shelling intensified on Tuesday. The Russia-installed mayor of Donetsk said that a bus stop, a hospital, a store and residential areas were hit in 4 city districts. 7 residents, including an 11-year-old boy, have been wounded. The city of Donetsk has been under Russian control since 2014. Russian forces struck a Ukrainian military command post on Tuesday. The Russian Defense Ministry issued a battle report saying that the Red Army destroyed multiple Ukrainian military weapons and equipment. This includes tanks, armored vehicles and other equipment in several regions. Russian forces also hit a Ukrainian command post on the front line. Moscow's air defense troops intercepted about 5 Ukrainian HIMARS, multiple rocket launchers and 17 unmanned drones. Burbank, United States, hundreds of movie professionals continued to march in front of Hollywood's major studios on Wednesday. The march marked 100 days of the organized writers' strike. Screenwriters urge their employers to stop talking about how much money they are making and pay their writers fairly. Actors also joined the strike and said that it is impacting the city of Los Angeles as films and TV industries face a shutdown in the wake of the strikes. Thousands of Los Angeles city employees walked off their jobs for a 24-hour strike alleging unfair labor practices on Tuesday. The protesters include sanitation workers, engineers and traffic officers. Picket lines went up at Los Angeles International Airport and other locations. Worker unions said that more than 11,000 workers went on strike. The union also said that its members voted to authorize the walkout because the city has failed to bargain in good faith. The mayor disputed the allegations of unfair labor practices and said that the city is ready to negotiate. A German man who was arrested in France after his wife said that he had been holding her captive for 12 years was released on Tuesday. The lead prosecutor in the case said that he was released without charges. Police arrested the 55-year-old on Monday after his wife alleged that she was held captive at the couple's home since 2011. The husband denied the allegations and said that his wife had cancer and that he was caring for her. The prosecution said that there was no evidence which would justify a continued investigation into the man. Cape Town, South Africa, police clashed with protesters in Cape Town on Tuesday as an ongoing strike continues to disrupt life and livelihood. The clashes took place in a township where demonstrators set up barricades to prevent other residents of this township to leave. Minibus taxi operator organizations are in a deadlock with the Cape Town government after failing to resolve various grievances. The taxi organizations have called for a strike and shutdown of operations the past week, causing employees to miss work and businesses to shut down. Armenian police detained protesting war veterans in central capital after they blockaded a government building on Tuesday. The demonstrators demanded authorities to unblock the corridor which has been shut down by Azerbaijan. The corridor is the sole road linking the breakaway Armenian populated region of Nagorno-Karabakh with Armenia. Armenia and Azerbaijan fought two wars over claims on this area. International aid groups warned that the situation in the region is deteriorating as convoys of food and medicine cannot reach the region due to the corridor blockade. Three protesters from the indigenous Kola nation chained themselves to the entrance of the Justice Palace in Buenos Aires. The protesters demanded that the Supreme Court should hear their case against controversial reforms to the Northwestern Province's constitution. Demonstrators also claim that the recently approved reforms are an attempt to cut their ancestral rights to land. Currently, Buenos Aires aims to use the mineral-rich land for lithium mining. The U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Victoria Nuland made an unannounced visit to Niger late Monday. She was denied a meeting with junta's top leadership. However, she did meet some of the other military leaders. Nuland says that she had difficult talks with the military. US says that Nuland made it clear in her talks about the consequences the junta would face with regards to US assistance to the country if they refuse to restore democratic rule. US says that it still holds hope for reversing the coup, but also was quote-unquote realistic after the failed talks. China launched a new satellite for disaster reduction on Wednesday. The satellite was launched from a launch center in the Shaanxi province. A Long March 2C carrier rocket was used to launch the satellite. It entered the planned orbit post-launch, and the launch was the 482nd mission by the Long March rocket series. Pope Francis has made an appeal for help following the natural disasters that have slammed Slovenia and Georgia. He made the remarks to Italian-speaking pilgrims in the Vatican on Wednesday. The Pope also thanked those who offered assistance to the sufferers, especially mentioning the role of the volunteers. Over the weekend, Slovenia was struck by record-breaking rainfall. The flooding affecting two-thirds of the European nation and killed at least 6 people while leaving over hundreds of others homeless. An ambitious project called WorldCoin is seeking to create a unique digital identification for everyone on the planet. The WorldCoin project is a biometric verification tool led by Sam Altman, who is also the CEO of OpenAI. Eager early adopters recently descended upon a Mexico City cafe on Tuesday, where their eyes were scanned by a futuristic sphere. Mexico is one of the nearly 36 countries where participants are allowing the sphere. Dubbed as an orb, the sphere is fitted with cameras to scan their iris.
Operator, I QR code, so I come here and I just click here. It's ready to go.
New Yorkers lined up to buy Mega Millions lottery tickets in hopes of hitting the $1.55 billion jackpot in a drawing on Tuesday night. The total prize standing at $1.5 billion is going to be the largest prize awarded in the lottery's history. The lottery comes with a $757.2 million cash option. The chance of winning is currently at 1 in 302.6 million. Now, despite the grim odds, people across the country keep their hopes up to win the lottery. A bull ran through traffic in Charlotte, North Carolina after heavy thunderstorms spooked it on Monday. The bull was running loose in the vicinity of Moore's Chapel Road in Charlotte. The bull was seen by several motorists running past cars. The animal control organization said that the bull escaped when trying to be moved from a pasture to an enclosed area due to severe weather. Authorities used drones both on Monday and on Tuesday to try and locate the bull, and residents were told to call authorities if it was spotted. Two tornadoes touched down in Massachusetts within 30 minutes. Trees, utility poles, and fences snapped from the ground due to the high-intensity winds. The violent storms have caused thousands of power outages across the state. With no injuries recorded, the state has been put on a tornado alert. Firefighting aircraft work to tackle a new wildfire burning near a village close to Portuguese border. According to local authorities, the fire has burnt around 300 hectares as Spain experiences one of its strongest summer heat waves. The latest fire comes as the EU's Climate Observatory confirmed that July 2023, that's this year, was the hottest month ever recorded on Earth. Several European countries continue seeing wildfires break out. Heavy wind and rain from Typhoon Khanun continued to pound southern Japan on Wednesday. Japan's weather agency issued weather warnings to many parts of the southern and western Japan. The formation of the storm coincides with people preparing to travel during the peak summer holiday season. Trains and flights were cancelled in the Kagoshima and other cities on the island of Kyushu. The storm is forecast to head towards the Korean peninsula in the coming days as a second storm. Meanwhile, another storm called Lan, which formed in the Pacific Ocean, is expected to affect Tokyo early next week. Typhoon Khanun has grown closer to South Korea's peninsula, where it is forecasted to slam into major urban areas. Dozens of flights and ferry services have been grounded in the country, and thousands of fishing vessels have been evacuated to ports. This as the government braces up for potential damage from flooding, landslides and tidal waves triggered by Typhoon Khanun. Country's weather office has said that the typhoon can have punishing impacts as it will likely slice through the center of the country over the several hours. The estimated wind speed is 90 to 154 kilometers per hour. Moody's has lowered credit ratings for multiple small to mid-sized US banks, citing concerns about funding risks and declining profitability in the sector. The agency downgraded 10 banks and placed 6 major banking giants under review for possible downgrades. Now, this comes as interest rates rise, remote work impacts office demand, and access to commercial real estate credit decreases. Moody's warns of risks posed by banks' unrealized losses in tightening monetary conditions. Li Auto, a new car company from China, wants to sell more cars than famous brands like BMW, Mercedes-Benz and Audi in China by the year 2024. Li Auto started in 2015 and will launch a new electric car called Mega later this year. They think it will be the most popular car among those that cost more than $69,315 in China. In the second quarter, their income went up by 147% compared to the first quarter. Li Auto delivered over 173,000 cars till now, which is more than last year. Now, China will require all mobile application providers in the country to file business details with the government. The Ministry of Industry and Information Technology said that apps without proper filings will be punished after the grace period, which would potentially restrict the number of apps and hit small developers hard. The requirement could affect the availability of popular social media apps such as X, formerly known as Twitter, Facebook and Instagram that are both owned by Meta. Use of such apps are not allowed in China, but they can be still downloaded from application stores. Japan's Sony said first quarter profit tumbled due to weaker performances from its movies and financial businesses. In April-June, operating profits slid 31% to $1.8 billion in line with estimates. Profit at its movies division plunged by 2/3 due to lower sales for television content as well as higher marketing costs after the company released more films in theaters. In May, Sony said that it is examining a partial spin-off of its financial unit, which includes life insurance and banking, and as it looks to invest in its entertainment business as well.